Hi there, and welcome to Ben's Voice Narrative. In this class, we want to look at the types of reference in the English language. Types of reference in the English language. First of all, what are references? Or what is a reference? Or what is referencing? A reference is a word that points to another word within a sentence. The pointing in this case can be backward or forward. It's possible for a word to point to another one at a later time, and it's possible for a word to refer back to another word within a sentence. So, basically, references are words or phrases that point to other phrases. They are words that point to other words within a sentence. And I'm saying that it's possible for a word to refer to a word at the back, backward, and it's possible for a word for reference to point to another word that is going to come at a later time within a sentence. So let's get to the class. Already we've defined references. In English, we have two types of reference. The first is anaphoric. We have what is called anaphoric reference. Anaphoric reference. And number two, we have what is called cataphoric reference. Cataphoric reference. What is anaphoric reference? What is an anaphoric reference? One, anaphoric reference is when a word points back to another word, points back or points backward, just put it that way, backwards, to another word in a sentence. Now, usually, we need anaphoric reference or references to avoid what is called repetition, unnecessary repetition, and to bring about clarity. Okay, so anaphoric reference is when a word points back to another word in a sentence. So it's possible for you to mention a word in a piece of writing, and subsequently you don't want to mention that word again, the word I mentioned before. You use another item, another word, another linguistic element to mean or to refer back to the word mentioned before. That is an example of anaphoric reference. So it performs the function of a pronoun in this case, in that it helps to avoid unnecessary repetition. Let's have examples of anaphoric reference in a sentence. Example. John arrived late for their meeting, and he apologized. And he apologized. Now, apologize can be Z-E-D and it can be S-E-D. But I'm sticking with the S-E-D because it's the British English spelling. Okay. John arrived late for the meeting, and he apologized. This could have been John arrived late for the meeting and John apologized. Now, instead of us mentioning John apologized again, instead of us mentioning John for the second time in succession, we cancel out John and replace John with E. We substitute this with this. John arrived late for the meeting. We can say full stop, for example, full stop. He apologized. He apologized for that action. Now, what action? Look at what action? Now, look at that action is an example of anaphoric reference. What does that mean? It refers back to the action of John arriving late for the meeting. That action in this place is an example of anaphoric reference because it means the same thing. It points back to arriving late for the meeting. And also the pronoun he in this place is anaphoric in that it means the same thing as John. But for us to know what this he is, for us to know what that action is, we need to go back to the first sentence to know what this means. Okay, he apologized for that action. What are we talking about here? He. Who is the he? Okay, John. Okay, he apologized for that action. What action? John arrived late for the meeting. John arrived late for the meeting. Okay, this is the action to which or for which John is apologizing. Are we clear with that? So, anaphoric reference is when a word points or refers back to a word in a sentence. It refers back, it points back to another word within a sentence. Okay, that said, let's go to the second type of reference, which is the cataphoric reference. Number 2, cataphoric reference 2. Cataphoric reference is when a word refers, refers to another word, word at a later time, within a sentence, A cataphoric reference is when a word refers to another word at a later time within a sentence. So when you have an expression, you have a piece of writing, maybe a passage, and then you start with suspense. You start in the middle of nowhere. For example, look at this. Example. Here is used to arriving late. To meetings. Oh, this is still okay. To meetings. Full stop. No one likes that. No one likes him for that. John has received no recommendation from his boss because of this. This is still accommodating here. Oh, okay. Because of his lateness. All right. Let's take that again. Is used to arriving late to meetings. No one likes him for that. John has received, this is a VED. John has received no recommendation from his boss because of his lateness. Now, look at this. Who is this he? I don't know. It's about the first time, practically the first time we're mentioning this word he. Who is the he? Okay, let's keep reading. He is just arriving late to meetings. Who are we talking about? You keep wondering who this person is. Who is this personality? Who is this individual? Now, you should understand the cataphoric reference is often used in a dramatic way to achieve the function of suspense. It keeps you on your toes. You want to know what the next information is. Who are we talking about? Who is this individual? It helps you to keep second guessing until you find out their answer at a later time. So let's keep reading. He's just arriving late to meetings. No one likes him for that. Who is this him we're talking about? Who is this him that people don't like because he's just arriving late to meeting? Who is this individual? Who? John. Oh, I don't even know if it's John yet. John has received No recommendation from his boss because of his action, because of his lateness. So John is this individual. All right. Now the word John, now look at this John and E. For us to know what E is, we need to go forward. We need to travel. We need to travel to a later time. We need to go ahead into the expression, into the passage, into the piece of writing to know the position, to know the reference of this word he. This type is known as cataphoric reference because he refers to an item that is ahead. Okay, so let's have a recap. Types of reference in English language. I said that a reference is a word that refers to another word within a sentence. So we have two types of references, or two types of reference. The first is anaphoric, and the second is cataphoric reference. And I said anaphoric, ana means back, ana means back. Anaphoric reference is a reference in which a word points back, refers back to a word, points backward to a word. That's an example of anaphoric reference. What cataphoric reference is when a word, a reference, points to a word or to a noun ahead at a later time in the course of writing. And we've looked at examples. So when you begin a piece of writing with the name of an individual, and then you go further to use pronouns to replace the names of the individuals you've used to begin the sentence, that type of reference is known as anaphoric reference. Okay, because you need to point backwards to know what that word ahead means, what the pronoun ahead means. And when you begin a sentence with your noun with an element whose identity is hidden, and you need to find the answer, you need to travel ahead, you need to go to other part, to the little part of the sentence to understand what this item is. When you travel ahead, the type of reference that gives you the answer to what this unknown is known as cataphoric reference or cataphoric reference. And with that, we've come to the end of today's class on the types of reference or the types of references in the English language, the anaphoric and the cataphoric. And I do believe that you can now use these two types of references as aesthetics to beautify your piece of writing. If you've learned one or two things in this class, kindly click on the like button, share this content with as many that you believe need them. Thanks for watching to the very end. See you in the next class. Bye for now.